G2 versus Fnatic, for these organizations, for these specific players, it's personal. When G2 went to the final, they thought that they had a chance.
I thought we could win, of course, but when we lost, I was like crushed, you know, couldn't believe it.
Reckless styled on them with tentacles. Caps solo killed PerkZ.
He just solo killed PerkZ!
PerkZ definitely took that to heart.
G2 Esports went from winning 4 titles in a row to getting 3-0'd in a final against Fnatic. So the fact that Fnatic got their revenge this year ignites the rivalry between the organizations.
To Wadid on the back end, and he's being zoned out. Yet another kill to PerkZ.
Last time, it was the beginning of the season. It was G2 who knew exactly what to do with their funnel comp. On the other hand, G2 Esports, after Rift Rivals, haven't been that on point.
It still looks like G2 is having some jet lag, so I wonder what's going on there.
But in the last couple of weeks, they have made some statements.
This is great stuff from G2.
And now I want to see what they can do versus Fnatic in their revamped form.
The skill level between these two teams, it seems almost dead even.
I don't see it being even for very long.
Jankos is really not playing around. If I do manage to out-jungle him, then I can be satisfied, because I've taken down the jungle in Europe that I respect the most.
You get to watch some of the best players in Europe play the best picks in the current meta. Fnatic, they are without a doubt the most creative team at getting early leads. G2's way to win this is through the top side of the map, and then make sure that PerkZ is not getting chain ganked in the mid lane.
And not only is it going to be fighting, it's going to be with really weird champions.
This will be the first time that we'll actually just match up lanes and lanes. We are just straight up better.
The first professional game in the LCS Caps played, he solo killed PerkZ twice. And I think PerkZ is a smarter player, but I think Caps is more hungry.
When these two are matching up against each other, they are fighting for the title of best mid laner in Europe.
Most mid laners in Europe are really afraid of blind picking against me, so I'll get all the strong champions while PerkZ is going to try to find out a counter he doesn't have.
He's like cocky in draft. Moving mid would not work against me.
No one even comes near Caps when it comes to mid laners in Europe, and that has to hurt for PerkZ.
Like every single player from his team goes mid. That's what makes it hard to play against him.
I'm going to have to keep an eye on my mid laner. He's going to do some crazy things to make sure that he's going to prove that he's the better player.
PerkZ was the best mid in EU. I always felt that I was the second best behind him. So I feel like I kind of overcame him. Would even question if he's the second best mid.
G2 versus Fnatic is the best we have to offer in Europe. There will be supports roaming, there will be junglers ganking, there will be mid laners fighting, then you have guaranteed action.
I want G2 to say, we won't have a repeat of the Copenhagen finals. We are here and we are back.
I just want to crush them. I just want to finally be able to win against Fnatic.
No one's going to play around in this one. Everyone's going to go at each other. It's going to be a bloodbath.
This could be the best regular season game we've had in years.
Welcome back for our match of the week, G2 versus Fnatic. These teams have 10 EU LCS titles combined. This night they battle to see who will take the next win in this heated rivalry. Now I'm Daniel Drakos. Christy Ender Frierson is still over there, but we gotta welcome the moose on the loose, Martin Deficio. Longo, welcome back, my friend. Tri-casting in the EU LCS.
We have to. It's G2 versus Fnatic.
I don't have to call him that, right? That was your bet.
You did not lose a bet.
Okay, you're still Deficio
You're
to me.
sure, because you could have just lied to him and told him that he had to say. It's not too late.
I don't want to lie to him. He's still learning. Let's be nice.
Okay. All right, well, fair. Well, before we get into the game, let's take a chance to look at the lineups to remind you who's playing. In case you somehow forgot, on the blue side, it's G2 Esports, currently sitting in second place. Wunder, Jankos, PerkZ, Sjokz, and Wadid. These guys looking to find a win here, unsurprising.
I mean, they're tied with Fnatic at the moment in the standings. If they win, they step above them, they step into the top 2. That's where you want to be if you're G2 Esports. You want to go straight to a semi-final. Problem for them is this Fnatic lineup, if we ignore the games yesterday, have looked insane over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've definitely had a lot of fantastic performances, while G2 look like a little bit of a different team. They're 2-4 coming in after Rift Rivals, when the last time these teams met, it was actually the funnel strategy coming on in, and they used that to take down Fnatic.
And of course, let's take a look at Fnatic, reigning EU LCS champions, or kings, if you feel like memeing a little bit. Here you go. sOAZ in the top lane, Broxah jungle, Caps, Bwipo, Hylissang coming together. And you talked about it already. This is a team that has looked so strong outside of yesterday.
But that's the thing, we can't just base it on one game and say suddenly Fnatic are in trouble. No, they tried something in the draft. Yeah, the Galio bot lane for Bwipo. They actually got a first spot as well for him, but then everything kind of fell apart for the team. Ignoring that, if we look at how they found success over the last couple of weeks, gank mid lane. go towards Caps, shut down the enemy mid laner. We know that he is the best player taking over a game and just running away with it.
And that being said, it doesn't mean you can't stop innovating in the bot lane. This is also the team that played Gangplank Fiddlesticks and won with it. So they're still going to be trying different things out, but especially in a match like this, you have to focus, get Caps ahead over PerkZ in this mid lane.
And of course, as we enter picks and bans, Pyke taken off the board. Hylissang does not get a chance to put his hands on those playmakers. The flex picks for Bwipo as well with the Swain. As long as, you know, a little bit of standard power here. Trundle taken off the board, Aatrox, Taliyah follow.
No surprise on the Fnatic side. The Swain is one of the best picks for Fnatic because you can flex it into so many different lanes. For them, it's definitely one of the best mages still down in the bottom lane. And Pyke as well, because Hylissang's main thing he brings to the table is roaming. And Pyke is probably the best roaming support.
Yeah, the Trundle has also been another champion that Broxah has absolutely loved in the past. Ooh. With a Heimerdinger ban targeted specifically at Hjarnan, we have to wonder, the Nocturne is left open, and Jankos, of course, is going to pick that.
Well, we have seen a lot of teams be okay with giving away the Nocturne, and then you draft these really big bruiser, tanky comps where Nocturne can't one-shot anyone. Fnatic loves to play that style, group 5-man, make sure every member can actually defend on their own, and I think the Nocturne pick could be a little trap.
That being said, if you look at some other regions and what they really like to play into the Nocturne, it has been the Trundle. So I think that G2 banning that away in the first rotation opens up to give this pick a little bit more safety.
Look what we're seeing already. It's a tank jungler for Broxah coming in. Rakan, well, you're not going to be tanky on your side. You bring instant engage, and this tells me we're going to get one of these Fnatic comps where no one is super squishy, and your objective is to group and just run down the enemy team.
And one thing I like about Broxah on the Sejuani is when Caps plays a melee mid laner, it sets them up so well to play through him. The Yasuo's look good, the Wukong, the one time he played it up against Sjokz, and now see how the rest of the comp unfolds, because G2 going with a very safe bottom lane.
But this is something that's still kind of new for G2.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Yasuo for Caps, I like that. I respect it. Can still go bot lane, we have to remember that as well, so it's not locked in the mid lane yet, but Yasuo is now on 80 carries. He played Ashe yesterday, he's playing Varus today, he's been playing just mages for the entire split, but more and more teams are shifting purely towards 80 carries, but it is utility-based, Ender, and I think that's important to highlight, because it's not about getting Yasuo fed, more him adding actually value with the ulti.
Especially when you already have a Nocturne locked in who can engage with his body, but he doesn't have a whole lot of utility outside of that. Hjarnan is going to be picking up some slack when it comes to engaging, but I want to talk about this mid lane matchup a little bit more, because we know that Caps has the opportunity to play the Yasuo into whatever PerkZ takes, but because Broxah has the Sejuani, it almost forces PerkZ into a cleanse, which really lowers your output in a 1v1.
I just want to highlight that Xayah was just banned against a team with the top laner in the bot lane. That's very interesting that they actually ban an 80 carry and not, you know, a Vladimir or whatever traditional mage we get from Fnatic. Because they have not played any 80 carries bot lane all split long.
I mean, that's got to mean that Bwipo's been practicing marksman, right? You see the Rakan on their side. That would set up for a beastly team fight. But still certainly a huge surprise for us. The other crazy stuff we're seeing is the LeBlanc as well as a Zed ban on the side of Fnatic, stopping PerkZ from getting these massive playmakers.
And Fnatic paying a lot of respect to PerkZ in that mid lane, but now you talk about these targeted bans, the 80 carry taken off the board, it does open up that Vladimir. It does open up some of these more standard comfort picks for the side of Fnatic, and now we have to wonder, how does G2 round out this composition?
I just wonder, is it worth it for G2 to ban an 80 carry and give away Vladimir, which is one of the best champions for Fnatic, to have also flex into multiple lanes, when we don't even know how good Bwipo is going to be on a Xayah? He's here because he's good at playing mages and bruisers.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise for us for sure. G2 though, as soon as you see all this engage on the side of Fnatic, are immediately saying, we need to play a 1-3-1, we need strong split pushers, because in a 5v5, I think it's going to be so difficult, especially because they have the Nocturne against, as we were saying, 4 bruisers that are going to be so hard to assassinate.
Nocturne hates the draft on the side of Fnatic. He absolutely hates playing against it because it's so hard for him to do anything. And that's why I said, I felt like giving away the Nocturne and G2 grabbing instantly smelled like a trap on the side of Fnatic. They're like, yeah, we know exactly what we're going to draft against this because we know it's going to get first pick. G2's comp is good when you look at like the potential of Gnar ulti with Orianna ult as well, but there's a lot of skill shots here that can miss. Setting up Gnar ultis are not easy, and right now your main engage is Nocturne diving in, and then Gnar has to follow up.
And you're not the team with Rakan, you don't have an Alistair, you don't have these big, reliable engage sources that can be so consistent. These are not the point and clicks that you want to see on a Wombo combo. But on the opposite side, Fnatic rounding out their composition with a bit of a standard take, taking Ornn into the top lane, saying, hey, we don't see a Braum, we're still happy to take this big team fighting ultimate and try to shut you guys down.
This is a caps comp from Fnatic. You're going to see Broxah and Hylissang all over this mid lane trying to shut down PerkZ. You have the Ornn to set up massive last breaths here for caps as Yasuo. It is going to be actually insane, the ability for them to just force fights whenever they want.
Yeah, Fnatic is sticking to what's been working for them all split long. Mage bot lane, strong bruiser comp. It's G2 with the AD carry bot lane making the changes this week. It worked yesterday, but I feel like just based on these champions on Fnatic, in terms of their team fighting, CC chaining they have, combined with the ability to stop a Nocturne from one-shotting you, as long as they don't fall behind early, it feels like this comp is just going to run over G2 in team fights.
And that's where on G2's side, you have to look towards the top lane. I think Wunder on a split-pushing Gnar is their best chance to be able to win out in this game if Jankos can get him an early lead like we've seen Jankos do for him in the past. That is the way that G2 win, by splitting up the map and kiting out these engagements from Fnatic.
Difficult though, even then, Ender. We'll have to see how it unfolds. Playing through the top lane, the story for G2, and as always, Fnatic, the Sejuani Yasuo duo here in the mid lane. This matchup I've been waiting to see. No more funnels, boys. Good old-fashioned 2v2s mid. No one's playing a support here. People just looking to fight. That's everything you could want in our match of the week.
The top of the table right now, it's not clear who the #1 team in Europe is at the moment, but between G2 Esports and Fnatic, the winner of this game would go so far in making the statement as we get closer and closer to playoffs of who actually is the #1 squad in the ULCS.
Let's follow the level 1 from Fnatic. They're famous for being very creative. They find these small openings where they get a first blood or a flash. They're all maybe expecting G2 to invade because they're all hiding in the brush. Broxah is kind of just trying to bait a little bit to show himself. Let's see if Fnatic then want to move in and get something around the enemy blue buff.
Now they're walking forward into enemy territory. Wunder just going to throw out the boomerang and wait. Fnatic moving in there, 4 men strong, so they can just take down a little bit of vision here, but no one going to look for the fight yet.
But look what Fnatic are trying to do. We praise their level 1s all the time. They're trying to single out Wunder in the top side of the map by putting down this deep vision and eliminating the ability for Jankos to gank topside that shuts down this win condition for
And
G2.
gentlemen, as we look at the level 1 Twitch chat, whatever chat you're participating in is getting involved. G2 or Fnatic, Fnatic fans out in force. We'll see if that changes as the level 1 could unfold. Hylissang, don't you take that blast cone.
Oh, he's in with the sweeper. That's so smart for him to sit with sweeper early because it allows him to walk past the wall here and see if anyone is hiding in the brush. If you're invading enemy blue, expect the team to do the same to your blue buff. Fnatic sitting around it is 3 versus 3 at the moment, and G2 seem to just back away.
And you actually just can't outsmite a Sejuani at level 1 with that burst damage from the E, and that shuts down, that slows down Jankos so hard early on.
Exactly, it's a small win for Fnatic with this level 1. Invade enemy, blue buff, go back to your own, and use that sweeper from Hylissang. One part is to see is there a ward here. Second part is someone hiding around the corner.
And now it does put Jankos a little bit behind here. He will just now finish his first camp and grab that level 2. Where's his attention going to go? Ender, you talked about the top lane. You talked about shutting down the Ornn here. PerkZ already taking control of the middle lane, so not the best start for G2, but not looking too bad either.
Well, we had on the Euphoria podcast with Nukdog and Kissing, we talked about how can G2 win this matchup. Because on paper, people will say Fnatic are favorites over what we've seen the last couple of weeks. But like, if G2 are going to win, some of the objectives were you need a bot lane that can survive on its own. Tahm, Kench, Varus, fairly safe because of the Tahm, Kench. And then you need to be able to win topside, ideally with something where Wunder can take over the game. He's on Gnar. It's a famous pick for him. Long story of him winning big games on the specific champions. And that's what G2 are trying to do here. Play around Wunder getting ahead and make sure Orianna and Wadid can sustain on their own.
And this is the second time that Jankos is denied in enemy territory. First on that blue buff, now he tries to make his way up there to get some Raptors, but unfortunately Fnatic, they're always there to try and shut him down and eliminate his playmaking.
One thing that did happen though, after the blue buff thing, Fnatic's dual lane, I think, returned a little bit later to the bottom lane than G2, so they actually lost the early push and the early rush for level 2 specifically, which is why they're now stuck on the turret here early game.
Yeah, Hylissang also roamed up into the river to help out Broxah with that Scuttle Crab to let him get over to the top side of the map a little bit faster and make sure he didn't lose out on any camp. So there was a significant sacrifice from Fnatic to help Broxah get ahead.
And that's a good setup for them, but now, unfortunately, all 3 lanes getting pushed in. You can see Caps continuously having to take the bad end of these trades. The Clockwork wind-up making PerkZ a threat here with those early auto attacks, and a difficult early laning phase for Fnatic, to be sure. Level 6 could be a crucial point, but for now, Hjarnan and Wadid, no hesitation to take control of the bottom lane, and I like seeing Hjarnan back on AD carries. If you remember when G2 were really struggling with Hjarnan at first, he was playing Varus just about every game. It didn't look like it fit. Now, though, we may see a different story, and that's an exciting prospect.
Yeah, and I actually really like this Varus pick specifically into the Vladimir because his E applies grievous wounds. When Bwipo is getting a little bit stronger and trying to sustain throughout these team fights, grievous wounds will limit the healing he's able to get.
Yeah, the only goal for Fnatic is typically with the Vladimir is get to level 6 and you actually start getting all-in potential. I have to remember the Tahm Kench Devour does not block the damage from Vladimir's ult, so it's actually really difficult to keep your AD carry alive. But mid lane at the moment, great start from PerkZ in terms of the CS.
Absolutely. 32-19, already a pretty sizable goal difference. PerkZ comfortably coming back with the Dorans and Boots, looking just to dominate in this mid lane matchup, maintain that advantage he's built to himself. Caps does get a little bit back, but it's a good start. Now, you talk about bot lane, you talk about all-ins and level 6s. Well, one man who may have pulled the trigger a few too many times in Fnatic's games yesterday is Hylissang, and this is a guy that we kind of have to keep our eyes on. He's been so good. He's also been a bit of a weakness at times.
Hylissang will always be the kind of support you want on your team when you're winning, because his ability to find picks when he's roaming and how quick he is to engage, like he's so fearless when he jumps in, really works well when you are the one trying to force the fights. But sometimes for Hylissang, and it's what we saw with the Alistar yesterday, when you actually need to be more passive, he doesn't always follow that, and he still looks for openings, and that can really backfire.
And that's why you get some slight concerns here. Already seeing G2 jump out to a little bit of an advantage here in the early game. Of course, Fnatic's composition is built to team fight, so you assume later on in the game when Hylissang is looking for those engages, they will work out. But in the event that G2 are able to build an even larger lead, that could be a bit of a thorn in Fnatic's side.
And that's why, again, with the level 1, while it was an advantage for Broxah specifically, just slowing down Jankos a bit, I think Caps and the bot lane, as we said before, both kind of ended up being a little bit late in their lanes and had to lose the first push. Obviously, Orianna is great the first few levels, and can't say the same for the Yasuo, or Hylissang just missing that one. Generally, though, with Orianna, you can just perma-push in the early game. Caps can't really all-in you. Once you start getting to Phantom Dancer, there's a bit more threat.
And while Nocturne being slowed down, not reaching that level 6 quite as quickly as he'd like to, it's nice to set PerkZ up for success. Fnatic not going to be able to play through mid lane quite yet in the game. I had to hold my breath just in case Caps wanted to go for the all-in there. But Broxah is approaching level 6 as well, so maybe we just see that 2v2 explode once both junglers are ready.
Yeah, and here's an interesting thought behind the idea of why you actually pick Yasuo in this matchup. We know it was a blind pick from them and that the Orianna does do well in the early levels, but if you look at a split push later on into the game, we know that Yasuo is so good into the Gnar's bot lane, actually.
On it. Pulled out. Ignite's still going to tick in the belly, but he is going to make it to safety. Of course, a good time to remind people, POV stream is available. You can watch through the eyes of Jankos as he gets ready to hit level 6 on Nocturne. That's the big point. Up until now, it's been Farm Simulator, but now's your chance. He's about to hit level 6. This is where it gets interesting. When does he push that R button? Where does he go?
He's looking at all the lanes, man. This is how you jungle. Like, legitimately, it looks actually crazy, but you have to keep tabs on all those lanes. And right now, bottom lane may be looking like the best option since Caps is recalling mid.
And while the CS advantage early was for G2, we've actually seen Fnatic claw their way back in both mid and bot lane. We already saw Hjarnan getting forced back to base early with Hylissang engaging onto him, and Caps is starting to look for more trades now he's past level 6. So while there's an early lead for G2 Esports, it's been hard for him to continue the pressure. And I'm really looking at the level 6 from Vladimir. Once Ignite is ready from Hylissang, they might just try and go for an all-in kill.
Predator available soon as well, so they can't just run down those targets. Wadid may not be safe on his own. Yes, he has the cleanse, but is thick skin going to be enough remains the question. Broxah with the level 6, not afraid to keep moving in. Wunder, though, may just look for the play here. sOAZ going to make it out. Ooh, good dash there on the charge. Bring it through. Wunder now potentially in trouble, has to flash out as well. And there's a fight, meanwhile, in the river.
Against the Rift Scuttler.
I mean, Hylissang actually ran all the way in to this middle lane to assist in a potential fight that broke out. But you notice There's this, actually, look out.
Ulti gonna come in, is gonna connect immediately. The chance to see the follow-up. Paranoia comes out. The ulti Caps looking for the outplay. Is he gonna get locked up under tower? The fear is there. Jankos wants to get one back. Can he turn it anymore? Does pull out. 1-for-1.
1-for-1. First blood to the Yasuo here for Caps. And I think Jankos, in the end here, while getting a kill in return, sadly for him, could not get more and had to flash out of this one. So we get a 1-for-1 trade. sOAZ is around without ulti. No flash from Wunder either top lane because he saw 3 people on the way to try and kill him. Meanwhile, though, there's some damage on the bot lane turret from G2. They got to push it in with Hylissang being missing.
Yeah, the only cost there for Caps in the mid lane, even though he does get that kill, is he loses a lot of minions to that turret as the wave pushes on in. But G2 are still going to be so happy with how this early laning phase is playing out. They trade kills in the mid lane. That's all they can really ask for. And they continue to dominate the pressure in every single matchup.
An excellent start to be sure, and Ornn definitely pulling his weight here. Not going to go for the lethality Varus, instead going to go for the Blade of the Rune King, the attack speed, and Hylissang with no Ignite available means the kill pressure is a little bit less here on the bottom side of the map, but it is coming up shortly, and maybe that is the moment that Fnatic can capitalize on.
And I have to point out this control ward inside the Fnatic jungle because it actually spotted out a roam from Hylissang earlier on. That's why G2 backed away and ended up not going for the fight. It continues to spot out moves from Caps right there, who was trying to make his way down and punish Ornn and Wadid, who are playing back at the right moments. They're not stepping forward to make those mistakes.
See what happens around mid lane. So G2 have full information. They have the ward there to spot everyone. I just think PerkZ is not ready for the all-in engage when he's near his turret. Could have tried to maybe flash instantly, but he might have got knocked up just when actually the ulti from Sejuani hit. Jankos gets the kill in return. Sadly for him has to flash away right after.
I actually don't think he needed to flash away right there. I think he stays and hits Broxah. Maybe can do a little bit more.
Panic in the moment, and it's important that he didn't or wasn't able to grab that kill back. Keeps Fnatic feeling pretty comfortable in this laning phase because PerkZ versus Caps is somewhere where we always have to put our eyes in terms of mid lane matchups. Yasuo very flashy, but the Orianna, a single shockwave can decide a game.
And Caps is on his way bot lane. Hylissang level 6 plus Ignite is ready. They are going all in now.
Looking for it. They've blocked up Wadid. Immediately the cleanse tries to come out, but you can't stop the knock. They're trying to get a Predator coming through. They just want the Tahm Kench. They're not even going to waste any time on Ornn. Can they get it though? Wadid is still alive. The knockup, where does it go? Caps still trying to make it pretty. Bwipo making his way out the pool there to reset the aggro.
Oh, Jankos!
But here comes Jankos. The knockup goes out. Bye-bye. Good that you're going to flee, Caps, but you're going to die in the end.
That's the counter right there from Jankos again with the paranoia, picking off the over-aggression there from Fnatic. Fnatic stayed so long under the turret and eventually got there to punish.
And Vladimir had no ulti this entire fight. Was used earlier in the trade against G2's bottom lane. That was definitely missing for him to all in. Broxah is going in. sOAZ is on his way. There's no flash on PerkZ.
Aftershock, a lot of damage here. Orianna may not be able to close this one out. Of course, the burst is gone. Ornn is going to try to come in. Whoa. Just going to get it with the dip there. Just hit him with the ram. Why not?
That's a KS right there from sOAZ if I have ever seen one. Broxah did all the work.
Top lane. He deserved to get something for walking all the way down. Let's see the play here. They're going for Wadid, of course, because he can't devour himself, but he has cleansed and flash, and there's no ulti on this Vlad here when the fight actually breaks out. I think the Spectre is lying to you because I was looking at it when we were live.
Yeah, and Ornn is just able to free hit during this time. He forces the pull from Bwipo, who needed it to dodge out from that last turret hit, and leaves the opening for Jankos to enter, not just for the first kill, but for the fear to lock down Caps as well.
And Deficio, while you were gone from Euphoria, Fnatic talked about this. They said, look, sometimes we unleash the beast. We go all in, we dive towers, no fear. Broxah and sOAZ are normally the voices of reason. Guess who wasn't involved in that play? Broxah or sOAZ. These three players, when they group up, they are going to look for kills, and that's what we've come to expect.
Check out the turret HP in the bottom lane too. Super low. Mid lane as well. Very, very low here. G2 have just been building up advantages here through the early laning phase.
They just want to get down one of these outer turrets so they actually start moving around the map. TP was used back to lane from Ornn, so not safe to try and go to a different lane. But lane turret is very low. If Fnatic step away from it, it should die, and then suddenly you can actually start roaming with Wadid and the Varus here. Caps is trying to get to his Phantom Dance in time. Broxah is hiding in the jungle, is actually stealing red buff. Jankos is on his way, won't get there in time.
Now Ping's committed onto the bottom side of the map. Ulti is available for Bwipo. Looks like Predator as well if they want to chase this. Crimson Rush. Jankos is here too though. Fnatic spotted out and immediately back off.
That's mid lane turret going down.
Yeah, I mean, PerkZ is going to be able to push that one up, and Jankos, I just have to commend this guy because he came in with a bit of criticism in this week, having up and down performances. This has been fantastic. Even in that play where nothing breaks out, he's pathing immediately to the bottom lane to be there in case Fnatic pulled the trigger on the dive.
This is the nice thing about having semi-globals against Fnatic. When they do try to go for these crazy plays, you can very often get another man there. They have the Tahm Kench, they have Jankos as well, so it's not quite as easy for Fnatic to go for these really, really aggressive dives on the bottom side. However, they still retain a little bit of control here. Mid lane tower has yet to drop, and now Fnatic know if they keep letting this go, they're going to lose a tower, so they may just try to force a play.
sOAZ keeps trying to go mid lane and set something up. It's kind of what he's famous for, you know, when he's playing tanks. You can lose lane a bit as long as you're doing something with your team. Broxah's around as well. There's cleanse on PerkZ.
Needed the knock-up to connect there. Not something you can cleanse. You'd have to cleanse Flash if you wanted to make it out to safety. Broxah was ready with the follow-up. Hylissang is here too. This is the trio. Will they go for the play? PerkZ flash out to safety, dash out. Hylissang not hesitating there, but here comes the rest of the lineup. Jankos in the middle of it. PerkZ! Sombrero for nothing! Well, at least it looks cool, but this fight may not turn in their favor. Cap's going to find the knock-up now, needs to make it out to safety immediately. The flash for Wunder is on the side. Gnar is coming. Where's the double bounce going to be? Where's the Goomba stomp? He's going to look for it. Pulls back. Does not want to get anything else.
Oh, big fight. No one dying here. PerkZ, of course, will be very mad. Did not get to place the ball, I believe, on Jankos and then use the ulti. Right after this, those sources, ulti itself was actually targeted towards Wadid because he knew he could try and save a target, but that meant they couldn't actually get a kill on the Fnatic side. Cap's still staying around to push this one out. PerkZ feeling pretty good despite missing the ulti. Still very healthy in the lane.
Yeah, he's doing great in the 1v1, but if that Shockwaves connects, that's almost game, I don't want to say game over, but a completely different turn. You see, he dodges away from Hylissang at the start. That is fantastic. He knows he's going to be bullied, but this is where he needs the Shockwave onto 3 members. That would be complete devastation for Fnatic if it hit.
See what happens after this. Instead of going for PerkZ without the flash, he aims for Wadid. In the end, Fnatic do not have the damage. Bwipo joins a little bit later. Luckily for them, Wunder's ulti was just slightly off and could not get it there.
And additionally, Bwipo, of course, had the ultimate available. So diving face first into Vladimir. A little bit of a risk here. Of course, first items are coming through. Ornn has had this Blade of the Rune King completed for a while. Luda's Echo coming through for the side of PerkZ. The Spellbinder as well for Bwipo. So big power spikes, big item spikes coming in for both sides.
I just love the fact that this is such a close game between these two teams. No one wanted to see the 20-minute stomp. We want to see massive outplays happening, a lot of fights back and forth. Losing the bottom side, I think, for Fnatic is not a big surprise when you're against the Varus in the early game on their side, and the same with mid against Orianna. So they kind of knew there was a risk, but they also know their scaling is going to be great.
And the fact that they picked up the Herald there is a fantastic trade for them because they shouldn't by any means have control over the map at the moment. G2 have been shoving in the waves so consistently, so the fact that they get the Herald and can maybe trade in the next few minutes for a tower of their own is a very big deal.
sOAZ feeling frisky. But, guy, we have to remember how important this matchup actually is. 9-4, both teams tied, fighting for the top of the standings. Everyone knows how important that semifinals bye is as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. Only one of these guys can have it. G2 took the one earlier. Fnatic need to fire back. Fnatic need to get something, tie it up, force a tiebreaker, or just continue to win out so they can bring it home.
Exactly, and G2 Esports, of course, started 6-0 in this split. Looked like the best team together with Misfit earlier on, but Fnatic is later trying to catch up to everyone, has now managed to tie it with G2 Esports for a while, and could actually have taken or tied first place yesterday, but of course lost that game. Really hurt them a lot against Vitality, but they're looking to win this one if they can. But PerkZ and the rest of G2 Esports, good start to the game so far. Can they secure mid lane turret as well and start pushing Fnatic back on the map?
It's absolutely got to be the hope for them. Right now, the rest of Fnatic actually sOAZ leaving the top lane. This is something you see so frequently with him where he tries to roam to the mid lane, look for a fight because Fnatic are putting down the Herald. They're trying to trade for this mid lane turret.
Shockwave is available for PerkZ. He can look for a bit of disruption. Wind Wall now already used means they can't use it to protect the Herald. Broxah here. 5 members strong for Fnatic. G2, it looks like they're just going to have to give this one up, but can Fnatic find the follow-up engage? Wadid trying to save somebody. Chainsaw isn't going to come out.
Wunder's coming down, actually. They might look for a flank.
Nocturne with the ulti available. Can they combo it together? Doesn't look like they want to. Gnar, though, potentially on the way. It's going to come through.
Wunder wants to do something in this game so badly, but he's always just sitting top lane, watching sOAZ kill the wave, and then sOAZ leaves. And he's not been able to do something yet with the Gnar. See around this turret here, wave is pretty thin, but he's doing something.
Okay. Back, immediately going to try to find the engage. Hylissang trying to lock up one member. The Nocturne ultimate coming out. Bwipo trying to find his way into the middle of the team. Ornn Gonna try to disengage with the ultimate for now. Both sides backing off. A lot of R buttons pushed, but nobody gonna die quite yet. Caps, though, looking to change that. Tahm Kench gonna try to bring it home. The knockup not gonna connect. They're gonna try to back off. Windwall coming up just in time to save his butt.
It's another big fight around mid lane where no one dies. Let's see what flashes used here. Wadid, great play from him, flashing over, saving Wunder initially after Fnatic actually engaged onto him.
And the craziest thing is that these teams are holding their ultimates, waiting for the perfect moment. It never comes, so they back away. They keep trying to sort of test their limits, test their boundaries, and find an opening. The openings just haven't come, and now Fnatic are clawing back in this game with the Herald.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're at the point where if you look at mage versus AD carry, an AD carry can win the laning phase against certain mages, but on 1 to 2 items, most of the time the mage will deal more damage. And you have Spellbind on Vladimir, play the Rune King on Janen's Varus. It is really hard for the Varus to deal enough damage to match the AoE power of a Vlad. But what you can do as the Varus is wave clear, and the ulti to set up a potential fight and create a pick.
Yeah, of course, Hjarnen's going to be building for a Runon's Hurricane more than likely, then the Infinity Edge. At 3 items, he's going to destroy the front line of sOAZ and Broxah on the side of Fnatic, but it's going to be a little bit slow going until we get to that point.
And important up until that point, Deficio already touched on this, the initial CC from Hjarnen can set up for PerkZ, can set up for Wunder, that dream wombo that G2 want to find. Difficult to execute, incredibly hard. They don't have any of the easy champions to set it up, but they always have that option as we get later into the game. For now, though, Wunder on the side lane, Caps taking up home in the mid lane, and Fnatic looking to lay down a little bit of preemptive vision here on the top side.
See if they can force G2 away from the turret. Jan and Wadid did a great job in the laning phase. Done a good job in team fights as well, especially Wadid with the very defensive Tahm Kench plays. Effectively, what he actually can do on Tahm Kench.
I mean, he's had good ultimates into the mid lane as well, though, to keep fights going. He's tried to get out as well with them to protect his teammates, so solid Tahm Kench performance. Definitely not as flashy as a Rakan, but still a solid champion to have.
But notice how G2 are trying to play the game. They leave control over the Baron and over the river to push bottom lane, to push in this mid lane, and Fnatic are a little bit slow on the rotation. Caps is top lane without a teleport, but they're still making a play.
Going to throw out the ultimate is going to catch PerkZ.
Whoa!
Bwipo! The beast has been unleashed. PerkZ goes down. You can't stop that. Tahm Kench Devour wouldn't have saved him. Fnatic still finding the pick. Caps is uncontested on the top side. Wunder uncontested on the bottom, but Fnatic control the tempo. They can look to make a play with D trying to save the backs of his allies as Wunder grabs his tier 2.
We just talked about the difference between the Vladimir and the Varus on one item, and with the burst damage, that was Bwipo just saying, I'm gonna get a kill here. Fnatic, Caps is actually fairly low after pushing top, but they're going straight for Baron.
Yeah, they're moving straight on in here. The rest of G2, they have to be able to get into this pit. PerkZ is still dead for 10 seconds, but they're on their way.
10K and dropping, gentlemen. 8K, the Baron could be the deciding moment. Wunder, no rage built up on the Gnar. He needs a little bit more. He needs more time to get started. Wadid has been caught out. Caps finds the engage. The Windwall stops Hjarnen from doing anything. Jankos is just an innocent bystander. He can do nothing but sit and watch the destruction as G2 run for the hills. Wunder now locked up and taken down. Bwipo so strong in this game.
And with Jankos, no flash, no way to get into the pit, Fnatic still not going to go for the Baron. They get the fight that they wanted. They're even in gold, and now they're going to try to keep taking it to G2 in these fights.
So we mentioned earlier, while G2 did a good job getting advantage mid and bot lane, it was only going to last for so long because the combo Fnatic was not meant to win the early game. It was meant to just get past that phase, get to 1 to 2 items on your carries, and then look for fights. This Baron is never going to die in time. That's why they're just looking to turn.
And it's a coordinated turn out of the pit. All 5 members coming out at the same time, except maybe Hylissang. He tanked that up for a little bit extra, but you can see they run them down. There's no way for Wunder to get out of that play, and the 5-man death ball from Fnatic finds its mark.
You talk about 2 items, Deficio. We're seeing double pen items coming in for Bwipo. Caps, he's hit the Yasuo threshold, as I like to call it. He's got the IE, he's got the crit item. This is when he starts to hurt. The true damage, gonna make even the Gnar's life a living hell.
We're kind of rewatching the Spring Split final right here. G2 Esports doing so well early game, and Fnatic looking to bounce back in team fights.
Now, it's not a Tristana, but I suppose Vladimir is fine. Vladimir Yasuo will work out as well.
You get the crit from your mid laner now instead of your AD carry. That's the save.
It's just redistributing those resources, but Fnatic are still going to maintain control around this Baron. Wunder's trying to push in that bottom side, and eventually he'll be able to threaten onto that inhibitor tower, but that's assuming Fnatic don't pull the trigger.
Oh, they're pulling it. sOAZ wants to ult again.
It all comes out. They manage to connect on the Wadid. Now looking for a little more. They don't even need anything. everything else. The follow-up is there from Broxah. The shockwave is too little too late. PerkZ is now running for his life. One more auto going to connect. The stun does come through. And they're retreating. No hesitation for Broxah to tank the tower. Beautiful from Fnatic.
And again, it's everything we talked about in the pick and ban phase. 5-man group together, run at the enemy team, and you do not care about their damage because all your members can stay alive.
Now, Wunder did cancel his teleport. He's still in that bottom lane, about to start hitting onto this inhibitor turret, but the Baron recalls will come in just a few moments and shouldn't be able to get much more than one.
I just want to highlight as well that the Vladimir pick in team fights has been huge. And the Xayah was banned instead of it against Fnatic's bottom lane.
The fear is real. We've seen Marksman coming back. They thought, hey, maybe he's been practicing. Maybe they've seen it in solo queue as well. They didn't want to take the risk of the Lovers duo coming through. Well, you know, maybe not everyone's favorite pairing, but Vladimir Rakan also looking pretty strong.
I mean, it's just Vladimir, Rakan, Ornn, Sejuani, Yasuo. This entire composition is built to find these engagements. And again, all you have to do is group up in this mid lane, sit on top of a control ward, and as soon as G2 step up, pull the trigger.
I feel bad for Wadid because he's trying to save everyone with the Tahm Kench. But Ornn is such a good pick against this champion because it's an AoE engage that can always just aim for the Tahm Kench itself, and then you can't actually save anyone.
Also, there's a Vladimir, so you can't stop the pop damage once the mark has already been applied. So things are a little bit rough. Oh, and we talked about this last game, Ender. When there's zeros in the team fight damage, usually that's the team who lost.
Yeah, that's a pretty good indicator, especially when two of them immediately blow up. The other cancels his teleport and doesn't come into the fight. But again, it's actually PerkZ this time taking a turret in the top lane while the rest of Fnatic are grouped up and taking multiple towers all over.
And that's kind of been the way for G2 now to play the rest of the game, is always having someone in a side lane. You see the build from Wunder. It's very much focused on being a strong split pusher. He's not going to be able to stop caps. That's a problem. No one can 1v1 this guy. So wherever he goes, Fnatic will have to push. And Fnatic also have the teamfight advantage. Makes it very difficult for G2 to play out this game. We talked about how the early game was important. They had to win it and try and shut down the Bruiser comp from actually getting online in time. I think G2 did what they could at first, but didn't get kills in these fights we had around the mid lane.
Yeah, they needed to be able to snowball that advantage, extend their pressure, and sort of dominate the map, have vision everywhere to allow Wunder to split push. And vision, again, becomes a difficulty here for G2 because they don't have a true tank. They don't have a true frontliner or any way to scout out these brushes. Actually, walking into the Fog of War against Fnatic is a death sentence.
Well, Vladimir is one of those champions that you just cannot disengage once he's ahead. And look at this man. He has fully stacked Spellbinder, a just completed Death Cap Predator as well. He is getting into your backline. You cannot stop it at this point in the game.
He has 500 AP right now. And on the other side, it's an AD carry who, on 3 items, will be strong. But you're still pretty far away from 3 items. And you get that unfair thing between Vladimir and a traditional AD carry on the side of G2.
And once again, gentlemen, the battle for second, solidifying yourself. For Fnatic, trying to put themselves at the top of the table. It is the same story for G2. And they need to find a way to come back in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Wunder's going to be one of the ways. Him trying to get an advantage in the side, maybe try and go for an inhib. Sadly for him, he's too far away now. He knows Fnatic can push all the way down the base if he shows for longer because he doesn't have teleport. Another way for them is if they can engage with Jankos into a big Mega Gnar.
Here we go. Comes to a Mega Gnar. Instantly, the team is just cut down. Broxah coming in, running everybody down. Fnatic playing with their food. Wunder running for the hills. Oh, he's still tired. He can't get any range. Goes taken out. That's the double for Caps. Beautiful fight for Fnatic.
Thank God G2 banned that Xayah. That would have been so hard to deal with. Instead of this Vladimir, that's effectively one-shotting the backline of G2 in every single fight.
We thought it was going to be a Caps comp, but it's all Bwipo all the time.
And Fnatic, a rough game yesterday. Maybe some started to doubt, but the Fnatic faithful are alive in the EU LCS crowd. They're going to go for the fountain.
Get 'em, baby!
They know how much it hurts the pride of G2. They're going to close it out in the end. Fnatic takes sole control of second place.
Fnatic telling everyone, no, we still do not need Reckless or an AD carry in the bot lane. We can still just pick mages and beat whoever we are against. I also want to give a shout out to sOAZ. He was down in CS in his lane, but he didn't care. His entire job was to go mid, probably 5 to 6 times in the early game, and always try and force an engage.
Exactly, he intentionally sacrificed himself in that lane, leaving it as minions were coming into the turret, because that Ornn in the mid lane, every time he called out the Forge God, they were looking for fights with Hylissang, Broxah, and Bwipo on the rotations.
G2 Esports, We'll once again look back at an early game saying, we actually did fine. We got advantage bot lane, we got advantage in the mid lane with the CS, they got early turrets down, but they didn't get the crucial kills they needed, and they didn't stop the Vladimir and the Yasuo from picking up the first completed item and then eventually the second one in time.
And I gotta give praise to Jankos. He was everywhere he needed to be. He played so smart around Hylissang's roams, but it just wasn't enough. One slip up, and we saw what can happen. Fnatic so confident, they went to Baron and they said, look, we're gonna take this or you're gonna fight us, and trust me, if you fight us, you're gonna die.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Fnatic, they left open the Nocturne. They baited G2 into picking it, and it did great early on, but trying to paranoia into a fight as the Nocturne with 5 bruisers and tanks on the other side is impossible.
That's again where the Vladimir, to me, was just a better pick than the Desire would have ever been, because the Vladimir is the perfect choice against the Nocturne. Because Vladimir dives your backline. He doesn't care about Nocturne whatsoever. You can build an hourglass later, you have pool. So I feel like Fnatic were so happy with this draft, and they knew, get past 15 minutes, and you're going to win team fights.
It was a dominating performance, and you highlighted back to the spring finals where we saw Fnatic play not the same strategy whatsoever, but in the end, the same kind of game story unfold where it was G2, you're scrapping, you're looking for these early game advantages, but when it comes to the late game, everything just works out in the favor of Fnatic. They're so good at these team fights, and Hylissang, while he looked like a weakness yesterday, while he looked over-aggressive, today, he was everywhere he needed to be to find those engages.
And we actually had a very even game when we were looking at like the 15-minute mark, you know, almost dead even in gold. G2 had 2 turrets to 1, and then it just exploded. This was over in 27 minutes. Didn't feel like the kind of game would be over so quickly.
You were literally saying in the game, hey, no, everyone wants a back and forth. No one wants a one-sided stomp. It wasn't a one-sided stomp, but it was still a fast
2-item Fnatic. Bam.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many fights around that mid lane. Fnatic kept trying to make a play. G2 kept trying to make a play, but nothing happened off of it. It was a lot of summoners blown, a lot of ultimates blown, and then you got to around 20 minutes, Fnatic just rolled through G2.
Absolutely popped off. Now, for our match of the week, Bwipo, Caps, and Broxah are looking to become your player of the game. Head over to ADC Esports on Twitter and vote. Bwipo? Broxah?
I think Bwipo, based on the team fights, I think sOAZ also deserves, again, a mention for his performance.
Shout out for sOAZ.
Yeah, shout out to sOAZ.
A lot of solid members, a lot of good options. But to get some more insight on Fnatic's win, let's hear from their bot lane carry.
Thank you very much, Drakos, and thank you, Bwipo, for joining me now. You overcame G2 today. How did you prepare for this one?
Honestly, most of our preparation coming into this week was thrown out the window after yesterday's performance. So we decided, let's go back to the last week we played and just play around Caps again, and just make sure that we're comfortable in all our matchups, and we're just picking champions we know will eventually do their job in the game.
Yeah, you went for hard engage here with the Rakan and stuff like that. Is it what Fnatic needs to shine at the moment?
I don't think it's what we need, but it's what works for us, and I think it's the first game we played Rakan, actually. So, I mean, I just think that we had a comfortable mid matchup, comfortable jungle matchup, and we knew what was going to happen bot lane. We knew we were going to take a beating in the early game. So, as long as you just scale it out and play slow, we're going to win this game.
Yeah, were you confident not snowballing from the beginning, because it was a close game at start, and then you snowballed it out of control? So
yeah, we were pretty comfortable about this. It's the same thing we did in spring finals. We knew if we just take a more slow and scaling approach to the game and just take 1 or 2 lanes that can hold down the fort and just scale up, we were going to be fine. So that's exactly what we did, and yeah. Basically a rematch of finals, really.
Yeah, well, funny you mentioned the spring finals, because the split is coming to an end shortly. So how do you feel? Do you feel stronger than you used to be in spring splits?
It's difficult to say because we're a lot different. You know, we don't have our favorite blonde guy in the bot lane anymore, but
let's not mention that.
So it's obviously different. I've been trying really hard to adapt to what the team needs, but it's quite difficult at times, and I'm playing a lot of different champions to adapt to the needs. But from what we can tell, we're definitely looking to bring back Reckless, considering what everybody else in the world is playing, and I think we can expect to see the old Fnatic maybe back.
That's interesting to hear. I'll leave you guys on that, but for more on that game, let's send it over to Sjokz for post-game.
Interesting, a bit of a cliffhanger there from Bwipo, but well-deserved victory from Fnatic in our match of the week, Vedius. We're going to break down the most important points about this game, and when you talk about Fnatic versus G2, you can't get around Caps versus PerkZ, and I think this round goes to Caps.
Yes, it certainly seems to. We looked at kind of how the early game playmaking went, and we saw a lot of action happening around the mid lane. There was a bit of back and forth trading, there was a couple of kills here and there, but overall, it was Fnatic doing what Fnatic often like to do, which is set up their mid mid laner to be a carry, and a carry he certainly was.
He was. He picked his favorite Yasuo. He has been having really good performances on it in the last couple of weeks, and PerkZ's Orianna just couldn't do enough. I think also the composition of Fnatic's team comp rather negated a lot of the power that G2 could bring out, and that was a huge factor. Sure. Secondly, we were looking at the jungle. Jankos has not had the hottest couple of weeks, but I think he kept the early game pretty in check and even.
I feel like his Nocturne was pretty relevant. He was 2-0-1 after the early laning phase, and you know, you heard the casters talking about how back and forth this game was, and a large part of it was Jankos finding those successful counter ganks. He found it in the mid lane, he found it in the bottom lane, and he was how G2 were able to stay even for the early portions of the map. But unfortunately, he could not convert this into a significant advantage in the mid to late game. You weren't able to find those picks. It was difficult to dive onto champions like the Vladimir, like the Rakan, like the Sejuani too, and this made it challenging for G2 to find these successful fights in the mid game.
And after that, Fnatic just pulled the trigger whenever they could. And as the old saying says, if you're Ornn,
blow the horn.
And that happened over and over. Honestly, this is what that composition was designed for. Laure asked Bwipo, you know, is this what you guys need? And he said, no, it's not necessarily what we need, but it works.
Yes, it works for sure. sOAZ had so many fantastic engages. The follow-up was beautiful from Hylissang and Broxah. And then you had the damage dealers do what they're supposed to do.
And this is the kind of game in where yesterday we criticized maybe Hylissang and Bwipo for going too all in sometimes, but this is the kind of game where your composition is built around it, and it helps drive the game home.
And I feel like that it fits into Fnatic's style that they found so much success with so far in the regular season. Relying on their individual talent, forcing a lot of skirmishes and fights, utilizing your power spikes, and just bring that all together to have a pretty convincing mid to late game.
Now, if we look at what this actually means, Fnatic bounces back, so hasn't actually lost anything this weekend. They went 1-1 after losing to Vitality yesterday. For G2 Esports, though, this now becomes dicey in that third place.
Yeah, it means a lot in terms of the standings because G2 are now very close to Sjokz and Vitality, who are hot on their heels after Vitality had another 2-0 weekend. Sjokz potentially looking to have their own, and for Fnatic, they now tie the top of the leaderboard, and if Sjokz get a win today, we now have 2 teams sitting at the top of our standings with 3 teams fighting for that second place spot.
Super interesting. We'll know more after the next game, which is Misfits versus Sjokz. But to wrap this one up, the player of the game was Bwipo with 45% of the votes, making Belgium proud. There you go, 1 game at a time. And of course, in the developing story of Reckless not being there, this is of course very important for Fnatic.
Yes, it certainly is. Yesterday we didn't see the greatest performance from Bwipo. The bot lane got shut down quite handily, but today we saw what he was brought into this team to do. Playing those mages down in the bottom half of the map. His impact in team fights has always been significant. With the shift back more towards AD carries over the last couple of weeks and with patches to come, it would not surprise me if we see the return of the current champion.
There we go. We will see if that is the case. But for now, Fnatic reigns supreme over G2 Esports and closes out the match of the week with a win. And when we return, more action. Our final game of the week, Misfits Gaming versus Schalke 04. Meet us back here in FIA, or 3.5.
The knockup, where does it go? Cap still trying to make it pretty. Bwipo making his way out the pool there to reset the aggro. Oh, Jankos! But here comes Jankos! The knockup goes out. Bye-bye. It is going to catch PerkZ. Whoa! Bwipo! The beast has been unleashed. PerkZ goes down. You can't stop that. Pull the trigger.
Oh, they're pulling it. sOAZ wants to hold again.
Ornn comes out. They manage to connect on the Wadid. Now looking for a little more. They don't even need anything else. The follow-up is there from Broxah. The shockwave is too little too late. Here we go. Comes no making instantly, the team is just cut down. Broxah coming in. Running everybody down. Fnatic. They're going to go for the fountain. Get him, baby. They know how much it hurts the pride of G2. They're going to close it out in the end. Fnatic takes sole control of second place.